Welcome everyone to another episode of Riz Talks. I'm your host Riz, and I'm thrilled to have you here as we continue on our journey to explore who we are, where we headed, and what it truly means to be human. Here we challenge the way we see the world and ourselves by thinking again, based on facts and figures, not fake news. It's time to reflect how our history, both personal and collective, shaped our beliefs, our biases, and our choices. Do the things we hold to be true even matter in the grand scheme of things? Today's topic is the great tax escape. Why do governments allow tax havens? Offshore wealth rose by over 35% between 2007 and 2015, further widening the gap between the rich and the poor. So, what are tax havens? A tax haven is a jurisdiction, usually a small country or island, where taxes are super low or even non existent, and financial secrecy is the law of the land. Think Cayman Islands, Luxembourg, Switzerland. Basically, it's where money goes on a vacation, as to the wealthy and the billionaires. One of the first instances of a tax haven were the US states of New Jersey and Delaware in the late 19th century. Both were not and still are not real tax havens, but may be credited with creating easy incorporation, which is used by all modern tax havens. The term tax haven has been widely used since the 1950s, but tax havens aren't just for the ultra rich. Big corporations use them to minimize their tax bills. Companies like Apple and Google, Amazon, and the list goes on, have legally moved billions to places like Ireland to avoid higher taxes at home. It's legal. Why? And is it ethical? British banks continued growing their business in Jersey, Guernsey, and the Isle of Man in the 60s. And then the three big American banks, Citibank, Chase, the Bank of America, jumped on the bandwagon in mid-1960s. These days, Delaware, Nevada, and South Dakota are considered to be domestic tax havens in USA. Why do governments tolerate tax havens is the question. We're tackling the slippery slope of tax havens and why the governments allow them. The short answer, it's complicated. The long answer, it's politics, economics, and a dash of hypocrisy. These countries tolerate tax havens because their economies benefit, directly and indirectly. Examples are financial hubs like London or New York. The stock markets handle transactions for offshore accounts. Closing tax havens would hurt their banks and law firms. Remember, wealthy individuals and corporations often lobby against stricter tax regulations. Let's be real. Politicians who depend on campaign donations aren't eager to upset their biggest donors. It's not corruption, it's influence. This trend of the rich making the rules to get richer is getting from bad to worse and must be stopped. Some governments set up these tax havens to collect the black money from corrupt politicians, mafias, drug barons, illegal arms exporters, etc. Another way of collecting riches from poor countries indirectly, now that most colonies and empires have crumbled. London City is a classic example. It's a law on its own. Even UK and existing British colonies are considered a tax-free haven, provided legally a company registered there does not have any business activities in the UK and hence is not subject to British taxation. This rule is exploited by jurisdictions such as Bermuda and the Bahamas and especially managed well since the 70s by the Cayman Islands. The answer lies in a mix of economic dependency, political pressure, and global inertia. Fixing the system requires international cooperation, transparency, and a lot of political will, which, let's be honest, might take longer than fixing climate change. So the impact of tax havens. It drains government coffers, which means less money for public services, social services, healthcare, education, and improving the infrastructure. Remember, the rich are getting richer at the expense of the poor, whether it is individuals, groups, or countries. But the impact isn't just financial, is it? It's social. Tax havens exacerbate inequality. While billionaires stash their wealth offshore, everyday people foot the tax bill. It's like being stuck with the check after your rich friend forgets their wallet. Mainly, there are two groups of tax havens based on old colonies. These were designed after the First World War to collect riches from other nations. So UK, the British Empire, based tax havens with close links to the City of London. This includes British Crown dependencies such as the Channel Islands, Jersey, Guernsey, and the Isle of Man. British overseas territories such as the Cayman Islands, Bermuda, British Virgin Islands, Turks and Caicos, and Gibraltar. Yes, to add Bahamas to the list. European tax havens, including Benelux countries, Belgium, Netherlands, and Luxembourg, and then Ireland, Switzerland, and Liechtenstein. The only other significant tax havens today which are not part of these two groups are Panama, Uruguay, Singapore, Hong Kong, and Dubai. Currently, other countries are joining in. After Norfolk Island started in 1966, Vanuatu in 1970, Nauru in 1972, the Cook Islands in 1981, Tonga in 1984, Samoa in 1988, the Marshall Islands in 1990, and Nauru in 1994 have also started similar operations. Much of the Pacific Islands are catching up. Although some countries depend on tax havens, small island nations use low taxes to attract foreign investments, creating jobs and boosting their economies. So when critics call for closing tax havens, these nations argue, hey, this is our business model. The Bank of International Settlement quarterly statistics showed that since the early 1980s, about half of all international banking assets and liabilities were routed through offshore financial centers, the OFCs. And a third of all multinational corporations, foreign direct investment, FDIs, go through tax havens. Tax havens are also used as the principal route through which laundered money escapes developing countries. And now we're talking about corrupt generals and politicians and bureaucrats. As of early 2025, around 800 million people live in extreme poverty, meaning they are surviving on less than US $3 a day, unable to eat more than one meal. Half of the world's population of 8 billion people lives on less than $6.85 per person per day. It's hand to mouth, paycheck to paycheck. In 2013, an estimated $5.9 trillion of global financial wealth was held in tax havens. It has probably doubled since. The Panama Papers leaked in 2016 revealed how global elites used offshore accounts to avoid taxes, demonstrating the role of tax havens in widening the wealth gap. According to economist Gabriel Zuckman, tax havens cost governments around a conservative figure of $200 billion annually in lost revenue. That's a lot of potholes that could have been fixed. Individual tax avoidance and evasion is estimated conservatively to be somewhere between $800 billion to $1 trillion a year, every year. So, in conclusion, can we shut down tax havens? Theoretically, yes. Practically possible, but difficult. Be token action, but some countries have started cracking down. The OECD, Global Minimum Tax, aims to prevent corporations from moving profits to low tax jurisdictions. It's a step forward, but enforcing these rules is a challenge. After all, money is like water, it finds the cracks. And let's not forget whistleblowers. Leaks like the Panama Papers and Pandora Papers have exposed how the wealthy exploit tax havens. Transparency is key, but so is public outrage. If people care enough and voice it, governments might act. The keyword here is might. To summarize, these man-made tax havens have created systems and regulations that hide the true owners of monies in their domains. If secrecy is maintained, potential tax avoiders and money launderers are likely to try to take advantage of these countries to hide their assets. Global banking codes need to make these transactions transparent and eliminate dummy corporations, etc. These man-made tax havens need to be shut down. Humanity suffers as billionaires accumulate and hide their wealth, which barely supports the economies of the few small tax haven countries, but benefits mostly the big, rich countries and former empires. All the collected wealth is tax avoided, which could improve the living conditions of the poor in those countries. The fat, corrupt politicians and drug lords or mega corporations that are sucking money from the poor consumers to give bonuses to their executives or dividend to their shareholders. Where will it end? When will the greed stop? Never. That's why countries with gold mines often have potholes too big for cars. That's why so many resource-rich countries have so many poor people. Tax haven is one of the main reasons. What economists call the resource curse, that paradox where countries with abundant natural resources, oils, diamonds, gold, coffee, you name it, often have slower economic growth, weak institutions, and higher inequality than countries with no resources. In most cases, it is corruption. The wealth does not go to the poor, but collected in these tax havens ended up in the big economies of the former colonialists. While the regular folks keep paying higher income, wealth, capital, road tax, fuel tax, alcohol tax, cigarette tax, and the list goes on. Unless you act, this will continue. There is hope as countries like Botswana have managed its diamond wealth by reinvesting profits into health, education, and infrastructure. It's a start, thinking long term development, not just short term blink. Thank you for joining this podcast. Are we living in a way that will leave this world better than we found it? It's now time to act. So please share the message with others, think again, challenge ideas, join the conversation, and subscribe. This is Riz Talks. Be curious, be kind, and come back for more. Thank you.